Okay, Steve, we've got some big fundamental events affecting the Kiwi and sterling this week. We've got the New Zealand general election, but also the Brexit trade deal negotiations coming to a head. We could have some interesting trades ahead.
It's going to be interesting.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Trader Talks videos with myself, Richard Perry, market analyst at Handtech, and also Steve Miley, the market chartist. Now, as ever, I'm going to point you towards our website, hmarkets.com, where you can sign up for a live trading account in 4 easy steps, or just use your normal demo account. Steve, I'm seeing these markets as a bit ranging, a little bit mixed signals, but I think we've still got some good trading ideas to maybe think about today.
Yeah, certainly. I think, particularly on the foreign exchange side in here, markets are far more sideways, a little trickier in here at the moment, with many markets kind of sitting towards the middle of most ranges in here. But for me, there's still an underlying kind of threat of risk on. And traders, investors wanting to take more risks. I think the equity markets are reflecting that. We've had really strong rallies in here over the last week or so. And for me,
I think that's basically because of the fiscal situation in the States, right?
Yeah.
The markets are basically pricing that regardless of what happens, we're going to get a big fiscal package and likely to be driven by Biden.
Yeah, I think so. And, the more he pulls ahead in the polls, the stronger that becomes. Looks like a potential clean sweep. All of that points to, if it's not pre-election, post-election, we're going to get a big fiscal stimulus package from the US, which is keeping us in that risk-on theme. And that's kind of why I picked the New Zealand dollar. I picked the New Zealand dollar over the Australian dollar because, Australia is just performing that much better. The last couple of days in here, we've seen certainly a slight dip in stocks, and we've seen a rally in the dollar against, say, euro, against the pound, which we're going to come and look at with yourself shortly, and against the Aussie. But Kiwis just hung in there. We had a really strong end to the week last week, pushed us up above the middle of the kind of the range, with the range running from between, like on the chart here, you can see between 64.90 and 68.00, and we're kind of at the top end, the upper end of that range, just above the midpoint. We had a really strong push higher, and we just kind of marked time since then. So for me, we held the trend line that comes across all the way from June. RSI's, pushing higher, still remains supportive. So I'm in no way, mega bullish on this, but what I'm saying is, of the major currency pairs, this looks like the one some strength against the dollar. It could probably push to the upper end of the range in a risk-on environment, and just maybe aiming back up to 68.00.
Yeah, I see that obviously the dollar is a big driver across Forex markets at the moment, but also, as you say, the Kiwi outperformance. It's interesting that we're coming up to an election, a general election in New Zealand this weekend. And I think that the market is fairly confident that you're going to get a very strong positive result for the incumbent Labour Party, which suggests that fiscal spending taps are going to be remaining on. That reduces the likelihood or the need for the RBNZ to go into negative rates territory. So I think that helps the Kiwi at the moment.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, it's a really good point you make there. The fact that we do have likelihood of a left-wing victory. Obviously, as you say, more fiscal stimulus probably on the cards, particularly if they get a majority. And yes, so all of that points for Kiwi higher as well for me. Obviously, it can go the other way, but at the moment, the polls are telling us that's the way it's going to go. And I think that's why we're seeing that resilience in the Kiwi. And again, I just want to say this is not a big bullish statement that I'm making here. It's more pushing to the top end of that range.
Yeah, I agree. I think pretty much across the board, major markets are struggling on the Forex to get any real trending moves going. And I think that Kiwi is one of the better ones in terms of pulling towards the highs. Also, again, needs that dollar weakness to resume. But I think it will be seen in some stage in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Well, that kind of segues across to almost the opposite of the resilience of the Kiwi and the relative weakness of the pound versus the US dollar.
Yeah, sterling it's really beset by these Brexit trade negotiation concerns. How are these negotiations going to come out in a positive light for the UK really would be the question. Can they come to an agreement? Can Boris Johnson come out with any sort of credit in this angle. So I think that is a problem that perhaps is a drag on sterling at the moment. We saw that yesterday, big underperformance of cable to the downside, for sterling pulling lower amidst a dollar strengthening market, admittedly, but still sterling underperformed. And it really did impact, I think, the fact that the improvement in the outlook on cable in recent couple of weeks has been broken now, and it sort of opens up the support at 28.45 initially, but the lows at 26.70 come back into play potentially. Now, obviously, throughout this week is going to be news flow driven, and the headlines will be driving cable higher and lower. And I think that how that Brexit negotiations go will be crucial. And I know that you've been looking at this a lot, Steve, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I think there's so many unknowns. There's so much game theory going on between the UK and the EU, whether it's statements from Barnier, whether it's Johnson calling up Macron, the whole debate around fisheries, progress, then non-progress. So there's a lot of game theory in there, and it's almost impossible to call on that front. And then we've also got what's hanging over us, just to mention that, there's a lot of rumor now that we are going to, having just announced this 3-tier system, to now go into a small lockdown, a circuit breaker, as they're calling it, and that can't be good for the UK economy if we have a national. So I'm kind of more wary. Certainly, maybe the trade, to be looking at, as well as sterling Kiwi, if we're looking at, pound down and Kiwi up. So that's something, to maybe go and take a look at as well. But I think pound looks a lot more, when it punched above 130, 130.07, last week, I thought, here we go. There's lots of upside, but it's given all of that up, that punch.
It did look like a strong breakout, didn't it?
Yeah,
but it completely flipped around almost instantly, didn't it? And just couldn't take it.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting over certainly the next 24 to 48 hours with respect to what happens with this kind of soft deadline we have of October the 15th and where we go from there, really.
Yeah, I think that the uncertainty is a drag on sterling at the moment, and at the same time as the dollar strengthening, I think that could pull cable lower.
Agreed.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot, Steve, and we'll speak to you all next time for some more trader talk.